equation is simple as the Foxes walk out. Win tonight and a top 5 finish and European football is theirs. 0-0, 9 minutes gone. Young Luke Thomas swings in a great ball and Jose Perez heads over. That was a massive chance for Leicester City to take the lead, made by the debutant, and Perez couldn't finish the chance. Justin on the overlap. Justin's going to get the ball, swings it in looking for Vardy, whose shot is blocked, but Vardy gets another chance. Henderson sticks out a leg, and Barnes couldn't quite gobble up the rebound as it's shoveled out of play on this near side. Another dangerous Leicester moment as they look for the first goal of this game. Barnes leaves it for Thomas, edge of the box on his debut. Thomas, lovely ball back to Perez, who shoots and scores! Jose Perez, a brilliant finish, and it could be a critical goal as Leicester City chase European football. Tielemans picked out Vardy here, Vardy into the box, left-footed, side netting only. Massive chance for Jamie Vardy to make it 2. You thought that was going to be a goal. Bennett, that's a fantastic pass, and Vardy's touched it down inside to Barnes. Harvey Barnes into the box, can he score here? No! Dean Henderson with a very big save. And how important might that moment be? And they've released Vardy, and if he can look up, he's got Harvey Barnes in space. Harvey Barnes, another save, comes back to Tielemans, who scoops it wide by a deflection. It's a third chance for Leicester to go 2-0 up. Here goes the corner towards the far post, and it's one, comes back into the middle. Great save from Schmeichel, denies Jack O'Connell. And then the ball runs out of play for another corner. Johnny Evans, who flies out and picks a gorgeous pass onto Vardy. Left-hand side of the pitch, Damari Gray, the subs in the middle. Can Vardy pick out Gray? Can. One touch to set himself, and Damari Gray has scored! And it might be the goal that seals a top 5 finish and puts Leicester on another European tour. 2-0, and is that 3 massive points?
Well, absolutely. 3 massive points against Sheffield United last time out for Leicester City. Welcome to City on the Sofa now for their next game following that one. It's away at Tottenham Hotspur. It's another huge game for the Foxes. We'll have all the build-up here on City on the Sofa. We'll take you throughout the game and have the best of the post-match reaction as well. Joining me, Dan Bates, this afternoon are 3 former Foxes, Matt Elliott, Steve Walsh and Iwan Roberts, all certified Leicester legends as well. Good afternoon, gents.
Afternoon, Batesy.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Dan.
All right, Ewan.
Afternoon, boys.
How are we all feeling then? We'll come to you, Matty, first. Obviously, going into the Spurs game, there's a lot riding on it, but at the same time, whatever happens today, Leicester's destiny will be in their own hands next week against Man United.
Yeah, it's nice to have that insurance, isn't it? There's so many permutations, aren't there? And people are looking at it, and if we win today, if we nick a draw, and as you've mentioned there, even if the worst was to happen, there's still all to play for come the final game next Sunday. So, yeah, hopefully that will be a bit of a bolster to the lads. You know, it sort of takes away a little bit of the tension, doesn't it? But at the same time, there's a hell of a lot on this game. You know, they know they've got to perform, and they've given themselves a great opportunity with that performance last week against, or not so long ago, sorry, against Sheffield United, which was a bit more the sort of performance that you expect from Leicester City. And it will give some, you know, I mentioned it last week, it will give sort of confirmation to the players again that they are capable of producing what they did earlier in the season. There've been a few injuries, suspensions, etc. There's been a change in shape. You know, lots of departments come into, you know, how they're playing at the moment. But they performed exceptionally well against Sheffield United, didn't they? And they'll be looking to finish the season strongly and all to play for.
You were on our very first edition of City on the Sofa here on LCFC TV for the first game back. We've got you back again for the penultimate game of the season. I'm sure you'll have been keeping a beady eye, though, on Leicester during that time as well. And as Matt's been saying there, yes, well, whatever happens today, it will go down to next week, but it is still a massive opportunity, this, for Leicester today.
It is, Dan. And you just got the feeling after the way the restart went. You looked at the last 2 fixtures, you know, Spurs today at their new stadium, and then Manchester United at the King Power, and you just got the feeling that it was always going to go to these last 2 games. Hugely important win the other night against Sheffield United. I think that's by far the best performance for the Foxes since they restarted. There's been a little bit of doom and gloom since the restart. And I just look at the games, and maybe the players have let themselves down in 2.5 of those games. You know, the Brighton home game, I don't think they performed anywhere near what they're capable of. First half against Everton, never reached the heights that they can do. In the second half, I thought they were tremendous. And then that fixture last Sunday at Bournemouth, in a bad afternoon for the club, but it was so important to get a reaction, to bounce back, and that's exactly what they did against a very, very good Chris Wilder side. You know, they don't lose too many sides, and I think they've won a lot of supporters this year of Sheffield United, and to put that performance on under that amount of pressure after that poor performance at Bournemouth, I thought it was top class from Leicester.
Walshy, how are you feeling ahead of today, and how do you think that the Leicester players are feeling as well?
I'm feeling very upbeat. I'm going to put everybody's minds at rest and say that we need 1 point, and Chelsea are just going to lose their final 2 games, and that's how easy it is. But obviously, we're not going to do it that way. We're going to do it the hard way and beat Man United on the last game of the season. But no, I am upbeat. I am after the way we played against Sheffield. We certainly, for 90 minutes of that game, looked very, very good and back to our best. So, yeah, he's obviously looking at the same squad, same team, and it's great. You know, like I said, it's an opportunity today with you don't know with Tottenham. They're in good form. Obviously, they've had a good win at Newcastle. Kane's back on the score sheet, and so it's going to be a hard game. But you know, we're capable, more than capable on our day, and let's hope the same performance we can get today will certainly give us every chance of winning the game.
Well, that's the panel for today's episode of City on the Sofa. Matt Elliott and Steve Walsh joining me in the studio, and Iwan Roberts via a video link. Still to come as we build up to kick-off, we'll hear from Jose Mourinho and Brendan Rodgers. And we want you guys at home to get involved with the show as well. You can send in your thoughts and predictions ahead of kick-off using hashtag LCFC or hashtag ThenNowAgain. Before we see those, though, let's hear from a couple of the players, starting with Ayoze Perez reacting to getting on the score sheet against Sheffield United.
Yeah, it's a perfect night for us. It was an important game for us, massive game. But the most important was we needed a reaction after the last game. We bounced back really, really well, and that's what we are. So it's a great performance, and also happy to be able to help the team scoring.
I think it's a big achievement. You know, our aim at the start of the season, we had some targets, and one of our targets was to play European football. So, you know, we've ticked that box among other aims that we had. So, you know, to finally get there, it's fantastic. But, you know, we still got a bit of work to do. There's 2 games left, and we want to finish as high as we can. And, you know, we can play Europa League or we can play Champions League. And obviously we want to play in Champions League. So we've still got work to do.
It feels amazing. That was my goal when I signed for Leicester. Being in this position is special. Still not done. We're going for more. But yeah, it feels great. That means we've done a great job, and it's time to enjoy it. You know, I never played in Europe, so it's gonna be a special season the next one. But as I said, we're still going for more. 2 games left, everything to be decided, and we will fight for sure.
Yeah, you know, I definitely feel like I've played 300 games for Leicester in the legs. But you know, I think it's just fantastic to be out there once again. You know, obviously I ain't getting no younger now, so game time's a bit limited these days. But I'm always ready to go if the gaffer calls on me, and I've got a few injuries and a few suspensions. So I was happy to be called upon, and to get a result like that today when we most needed it feels extra special.
Obviously a happy Wes Morgan and a very happy Jose Perez speaking after that Sheffield United game. They're both back in the starting 11 again this afternoon for the Foxes. We can take you through the full 11 for Leicester City right now. And Matt, there's no real surprises from a Leicester point of view. It's unchanged from that Sheffield United game.
No, exactly. No reason to change whatsoever was there. I think by and large, when Brendan's team has performed well, he's kept with them pretty much, and understandably so. There aren't that many options in truth at the moment. When you look at the bench, it's pretty young, isn't it? And I think it's the team was straightforward, wasn't it, to go again. Different proposition today, though, isn't it? Away, okay, no crowd, but at Tottenham's ground, and different sort of opposition as well, and it's a huge game there. And although you got a sense there, listening to the players there, Perez and Morgan in particular, that they're very pleased with what they've done. I think they're very much aware that the job isn't done as well. You've got to see the season through, because Europa League, all well and good, a great achievement in itself, but the real target is the Champions League, and they've got to be on their mettle again today. It's no good. They had a slip at Bournemouth and they turned it on against Sheffield United. It's no good switching off a bit. They've got to be, to get to that next level, they've got to produce that consistency over a period of time, haven't they? And hopefully they'll be able to do so.
Just looking at that formation there, Walshy, obviously we've got potentially Harvey Barnes off the right-hand side, or Perez and Barnes just in behind Vardy, but we saw very strongly against Sheffield United, it was that left-hand side, wasn't it? Barnes drifted out, didn't he? And Perez was quite central.
Yeah, a lot did come down that side, Dan. But, I felt a real positive way forward. We will look forward with our first everything was direct for me. As soon as we got that ball, we looked to go forward, and we didn't overplay in this game. And it paid dividends, because we really, Sheffield United, they had no answers whatsoever in that game. And although it was 2-0, it could have been more. And the pace, the counter play was terrific. And for me, it was the best performance of the season in a 90-minute game that Leicester have played. So, but again, you've got to look at the key factors here. Spurs have had an extra day's rest. That Big Wes playing his second game in 3-4 days. It's not easy now, like he says, at his age, but he's got a good head on him, and there's no doubt he'll have rested up. And obviously the way that these players are, the sports science behind what they eat and drink and while they look after themselves is fantastic. But it's like I say, there's a few things going against it. But listen, it's an opportunity and a chance. If we can have that quality in that final third, like we've spoken about, then because there were more chances against Sheffield United that we should have tucked away. That game could have been buried, before half time if we'd have tucked away those earlier chances that we had. But the league tells you why Leicester are where they are. You look at the wins. Chelsea are on 19, I think it is. We're on 18. Man United have won 17. That's why we're there. We're there on merit. And there's been a lot of criticism over the last, since the return, and I think unfairly so, because these players are really, I think, throughout every game they've given everything. They've tried the best, and we've been a bit hit and miss in some halves, but I think overall they've been fantastic. And but you're down to the business end of the season now, and it doesn't come any bigger than this. The prize is so much bigger than just a Champions League to the Europa League is so much bigger, as everyone knows, the prize money and everything. And I really hope that Leicester make it now, because I think they deserve it. And at the end of the day, if we don't, we don't. But it's a great opportunity, and you just want to be part of it. Just for the football club itself, it'd be massive.
And a big test, of course, against Tottenham Hotspur. And the front three you look at from a Spurs point of view, we can take a look at their team now. There's Harry Kane up there and Son, Lucas Moura. They're the danger men, aren't they?
Yeah, you look at Harry Kane, he loves playing against Leicester, doesn't he? 8 goals in his last 4 appearances, and I know he scored 4 in the final game of the 2017 season. But that will be a tough test. It really, really will, especially for both wing backs, young boys learning the trade, especially Luke Thomas, who I thought was absolutely magnificent on his debut the other night against Sheffield United. Maybe they won't be quite as attacking, especially away from home, as what they were on the other night against Sheffield. It will be a tough test for them, but it's one I'm sure they're relishing and looking forward to. And since the restart, let's be honest, away from home, Leicester haven't hit the heights. I think they've only won 2 of the 9 points that they've got since the restart on the road. And you look at Spurs' home form, they've won 14 points since the restart, 10 of which have come at their new stadium. So, that tells you, the stats tell you that Spurs, they'll be looking to win this game. And with those 3, and Lo Celso, who's come in and impressed me, good vision, good passing range, got a bit of pace about him as well. It's going to be a tough test, but if you look at the likes of Wes Morgan, invaluable. The experience and what he brings to his leadership qualities, invaluable, and he'll sit in there between Ryan Bennett and Johnny Evans. And they'll be looking at Leicester's front 3, and they'll be very, very wary of Harvey Barnes, Jose Perez, and in particular the Premier League's top scorer at the minute, Jamie Vardy. When you look at that starting 11 for Tottenham, Matt, does it give you any sense of excitement in a way, particularly the defence? I know obviously Harry Winks we assume will be the one that sits just in front of the back 4, but the way Jamie Vardy's looked in the last couple of games, the way Harvey Barnes, particularly if he is on that left-hand side, can look to expose Aurier? Yeah, I think in an attacking sense from Leicester's point of view, you look at where you can hurt the opposition, and straight away that is when Aurier, powerful fullback, isn't he? But probably more adept going forward than he is defensively. Sanchez has got a little bit of a ricket in him. It still seems as if he's a centre half who's still developing and learning his role. Alderweireld, quality operator, isn't he? And has been for a long time. But and Davis. Davis is a steady Eddie, more than say Danny Rose. Posed more of a threat, didn't he, in an attacking sense? But listen, there are cases for and against when you look at Tottenham. It depends which one of which character's going to turn up, because they they have enormous potential within that starting lineup, don't they? The front 3 there, obviously a key area for them. Perhaps been more potent in days gone by when Dele Alli was properly on his game, etc. And but it's a different type of football as well now that they play under Mourinho. But having said that, I think Leicester have got their hands full at the same time. They can certainly, without a doubt, cause Tottenham problems on their own behalf. But I'm thinking back to, like I said, we talk about a different proposition from Sheffield United. I mean, it was just the 2 up front from Sheffield United, and they were below par on the day. And Leicester forced them to be below par because of the quality of their performance. But Tottenham today, it's a front 3. It sort of reminds me more of the Arsenal game. Where you had the front 3 of Aubameyang, Lacazette and Saka, wasn't it? And Leicester didn't really cope with them in the first half. They adjusted and adapted well in the second and came to terms with it. But they were slightly fortunate in the first on occasion and got run ragged a little bit. So that it's a front 3 against a back 3 as it stands. And at times, I think Leicester are going to have to be more aware to drop in and make it a 5 with the wing backs coming back and being in line with their centre halves. And as you have mentioned there, it's not going to be as an attacking all-round performance. We're going to have to soak up pressure at times because of the quality of Tottenham. But Leicester can certainly be hopeful of getting something out of this game, at the very least, I would say. Don't forget, there's going to be LCFC radio commentary still available of the game. That will be live from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Chris Powell, the summariser there for that one. Let's hear now from Brendan Rodgers, who was obviously incredibly impressed with Luke Thomas's debut against Sheffield United on Thursday.
Well, this is why he's travelled in. His parents, 4 and 5 times a week since he was a young boy, coming into the academy and working, and the long nights and all the travel that they do. They work, and the objective is to play for the first team. And I was thrilled for him last night. I said before the game that it's always exciting for me as a coach, because what I am. I like to develop players, whether they're young players or older players. But it's so great when you know you have a talent and they can go in and do as well as what you hope, because then it's the beginning of what will hopefully be a fantastic career for him. There's still so much work to do. There's, he's coming in, a huge challenge for him last night, playing against a really, really good team that have real good quality and physicality. So to cope with that, it was a really, really good start. But there'll be bumps along the way for him, that's for sure. And I've also seen that with young players. But he's very level-headed. He's got a good perspective on where he's at, and like I say, he's got real quality. So we'll nurture him, and like I said, there's going to be many more opportunities for him. But fantastic talent. Well, I think we can now give absolutely everything into it and play with that freedom. Like I said, our targets really at the beginning of the season was, could we bring Leicester City into Europe? In my time here, and I always felt that was going to be the challenge, the big challenge. But for the players to do it with 2 games to go is absolutely superb. However, we have an opportunity to achieve even more, and we're going to give absolutely everything to do that. And if we keep the standard that we had last night in the game in terms of our intensity and mentality in the game, then we know we'll have as good a chance as anyone.
Brendan Rodgers there speaking ahead of the game with Spurs this evening. We've asked you guys at home to get involved with us here on City on the Sofa. Matt is certainly going to be very jealous of this next one. Paul at home has set up a bar in his back garden ready for the game today. You can just see it on the screen.
Why me in particular, Dan?
Because
why are you mentioning me out the three?
You know why I'm mentioning you there, Matt. But he's got everything. He's kitted it all out. I think he's called it the dog and the fox in the back garden. So a fantastic little setup there for Paul, who will be cheering on Leicester City from his garden. The Dog and Fox Backyard Bar, it's called. So yeah, fantastic setup for Paul there. Hopefully he'll be celebrating a Leicester win there in his back garden this afternoon. Iwan, you mentioned Luke Thomas a little bit earlier and how impressed you were with him on debut. We just heard Brendan Rodgers there speaking about him, and he spoke about why his parents had brought him in 5 days a week when he was younger in the academy. Obviously, he's worked so hard to get to this position, and then to really jump at the chance like he did against Sheffield United was incredibly impressive.
Oh, he was magnificent. A debut that he will remember forever, and a debut that him and his parents and his family and friends can be very, very proud of. Showed great energy down that left-hand side. He was brave. And that's the thing about youngsters these days, Dan, that they go out there and they play with no fear. His chance has probably come sooner than Brendan, I think, would have imagined through the injuries to Ben Chilwell and Christian Fuchs. But he knows that Leicester are a club who love developing their own talent. He's seen the likes of Ben Chilwell been given an opportunity, Harvey Barnes, Hamza Chowdhury, and he's the next one off the conveyor belt. And hopefully, he'll grab this opportunity playing against a top side, playing against top players with both hands, and go and impress like he did the other night.
How impressed were you with the way that he went forward, Iwan? Because to do that on your Premier League debut, and particularly the way he set up the goal for Jose Perez, the vision was brilliant, and the disguise in the cross was brilliant.
It was just great awareness, Dan. He showed that all game, and he has got, because obviously the change of the shape from a 4 to a 5, he was that wing back on that left hand side. So when you do play with 5 at the back, your width comes from your wing back. So he had the license to get himself forward, and he didn't think twice. And when he got to that final third, time and time again, he put good quality in, and it's so important that your wing backs do that. But to take his time and to pick Perez out as he did, the weight and the pass was superb. Didn't panic, didn't just put a ball willy-nilly in across that 6-yard box. He picked Perez out superbly, and Jose Perez did the rest, and it was a terrific finish. You've got to say it was a magnificent finish.
Yeah, Walsh, just the ball from Thomas what was better, whether it was the vision or the disguise in it, because I think everyone thought he was just going to dink one to the back post or put a cross in, but he's been able to use his speed of thought at that time to pick Perez out. It was very impressive.
He had three options on, really, whether you either whip it right across the goal, whether you dink it into the far post, or whether you're a clever player and you have a bit of disguise and just pull it back. A lot of players do that now, because how many balls do you see get whipped across the box and no one's getting in there? Now, obviously, Vardy was wanting that in front of him, but it was a clever pass from Luke. And, I looked at him. He was tested in the second half because Sheffield United were playing a lot of diagonal, longer balls, and his positional sense was very, very good, which I noticed from a defensive point of view, because obviously that's the way that I think. But obviously going forward, he's got pace, he's got class. He put a few crosses in that caused problems for Sheffield. So it was a great night for him, and he's got to back that up today. He's got a task on his hands today with Lucas Moura, Son. If they switch over, these players are seasoned professionals who will try and find people out, and he's a young lad, but I think he's got what it takes to deal with it. James Justin as well. I think the two key areas, Ewan mentioned it and Matt earlier, I think they are the two key positions today for us, that if we're on top of our game, that's where we'll win the game, by defending right and keeping Tottenham at bay. We're set for a great game today, but again, that defensive unit there, for me, is great. And Big Wes, like I said, I feel assured when he's playing. Whether he deals with this second game in 3-4 days, I don't know, but he's certainly be relishing the challenge. But going back to Luke Thomas, the ball in was terrific and way above his years for me that he played the other night.
Yeah, terrific first goal, Matt. An equally impressive second goal as well. Really good team goal. The step in from Johnny Evans to start with. Jamie Vardy was unselfish, and then a great finish in the end as well from Demarai Gray, who yet again shows his class coming off the bench. Yeah,
he fits well into that role, doesn't he? Continues to frustrate when he gets a starting position, but we're seeing the ball through from Johnny Evans and then Vardy. He's done ever so well there. Vardy realised he was a little bit too far ahead of everyone, slowed play down just a touch, picked exactly the right option to Demarai Gray. Demarai Gray supporting well. I think it was actually his first touch, wasn't it? I can't remember him having a touch prior to that, coming on the substitute. First touch was a little bit out of his feet, actually, a little bit further away from goal than he would have wanted. But masterful pass from Johnny Evans there. And slotted away nicely through O'Connell's legs, wasn't it? Henderson was flat-footed, really. Once it goes through their defenders' legs like that, goalkeepers are more often than not struggling. But it was everything Leicester deserved, really. The game should have finished off before then. They looked increasingly threatening as the second half went on. Vardy, in particular, broke through on a few occasions, didn't he? And Harvey Barnes should have scored at least one when he was put in by Vardy on a couple of occasions, I think. And it was the least that Leicester deserved. But for me, it was just a good all-round balanced performance. As the boys have mentioned, defensively they looked extremely sound. They coped with everything Sheffield United had to offer. In midfield, I thought Ndidi was masterful, really. He's imperious. Just must be an absolute nightmare to play against. And Tielemans alongside him as well. Probably his best game certainly since the restart. And I thought he lasted the game well as well. Sometimes questionable about whether he can last the pace for the duration, but he was not only doing his defensive work but creative, and of course the front three all played their part. Then Barnes was a constant threat, Vardy also, and then Perez got his goal, and it was as complete a performance as Leicester have had for a very long while.
And another goal from the bench, or another goal involvement, of course, from the bench, Ewan, for Leicester City. How many times have we said that this season?
They're vital, Dan. When subs come off, that they've got to have an influence on the game. That's the last thing the manager tells them. And no better way of influencing a game than getting a goal. And I totally agree with Demarai Gray. I think he's looked sharp. He's looked hungry. It seems as if he's got the bit between the teeth again when he's been given an opportunity to come off the bench. Hasn't quite worked out for him for one reason or another when he started, but most definitely, he's influenced games in a big way when he's come off the bench. I remember the first game against Watford. It looked as if it was going to end goalless, and then the introduction of Damari changed the game for me from a Leicester point of view. I thought he was magnificent, and the way he took his goal then so early after coming on, a couple of lovely little touches and a good finish. Not the easiest of angles for him, and. You look at the goals that Leicester have scored. I think there's only the top two and Manu that have scored more. Majority have come from one man. We know that. Harvey Barnes has chipped in with 6 Premier League goals. Ayoze Perez, I think that was his 8th goal of the season. But all in all, hasn't really. You've been too dependent on that one man. So it's great to see other people contributing with invaluable goals, especially at this stage of the season.
Well, let's see where that win has left the league table then, and where Leicester stand, basically, Walshy, heading into this game with Spurs this afternoon. We know exactly what they need to do and exactly what's remaining still, Walshy, for the Foxes. But just looking at that, you think any sort of positive result today would be vital, wouldn't it?
Yeah, of course. I think everybody knows the mammoth task of, these last 2 games. We've probably got the hardest running out of anyone. Maybe Chelsea, you look at theirs, Liverpool and Wolves. Man United have got West Ham and us. So, listen, we are capable of beating these sides on any day of the week. It's that focus, that intensity, that drive, that belief. We're very inconsistent with our performances and frustrating at times, but we're more than capable. And you see the goal difference there. That could be very helpful.
Yeah.
We've said that in the last 3 weeks that this might be so important is that goal difference, and especially with who Chelsea have got to play. And that's the reason why I said that we only need 1 more point. I am joking, of course. It's going to be very difficult if we get 1 point out of 2 games, and but obviously we're in that position still where we're still in 4th place. We are holding the cards, and it's for us to lose it now, and for us to be in that position still is testimony to what a season it is. So. I'm pretty confident that the lads can do this. Everyone is willing them on. We know that, and I hope they can just play with that vigour, like they did against Sheffield. Everything just connected for me, and they put so much effort into that game, and they're going to have to do it again. This is a Tottenham team. Will be stubborn. They'll be hard to beat, but there's chances to score against these. There will be, and we've got to take them chances when they come around. We've had quite a lot of chances that we've churned over the last 3 or 4 weeks, and those chances today, we'll have to finish those.
Yeah, Leicester City now 4th, of course, in the Premier League. If you take a look at the form table since Jose Mourinho was appointed at Tottenham Hotspur, they sit 4th in the league, but the Portuguese says it could have been even better. Sorry, we've lost Jose Mourinho there, so we'll hear from him as soon as we can do. We're just having a few technical difficulties there, but we will hear from Mourinho in just a moment, Matt. But it is an interesting stat that since he has come in at Spurs, they are 4th in the form table, and a lot of people maybe have questioned the job that he's done there, but that clearly proves that he has done a good job there.
Yeah, that's caught me by surprise, actually. I wouldn't have thought they'd have been that high up, because people are quick to criticise these days generally, aren't they? And I think Mourinho, more so than most, because people quite enjoy the fact that if he's not doing particularly well. So I think that's why it probably sticks in your mind more when Tottenham have had bad results. It's more prominent in your mind, really, because they've almost gone under the radar a little bit. Because of their position in the league generally is not that impressive. You just automatically think they're having a bit of a struggle and they're stuttering. But as the stats suggest there, to be 4th best in his time, behind, I'm guessing, Man United, Man City and Liverpool, it's not such a bad achievement after all, is it, in that period of time? He's had things to deal with. injuries to key players being the main issue, I would say. And obviously there's that settling in period and a different mentality being implemented. But listen, anyone who doubts Jose Mourinho is a fool, basically, aren't they? I mean, you know, he is a top-class manager. He can grate on you sometimes, and you know, he's not always the most popular individual.
Well, it does for me, Matt, because I feel you never feel like there's a happy camp wherever he goes now. No. You just feel like Tottenham have still got a few underlying issues, as though he doesn't get on with them. I might be totally wrong.
From a media, sorry, I'm just saying, like a media point of view, I get the feeling you never quite get to know the truth, like you know, behind the scenes, but. It seems that way, Walsh, doesn't it? I know what you're saying.
I'd say, well, let's hear from the man himself then, Jose Mourinho, reacting to the fact that Spurs are fourth in that form table since he took over at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, but he says it could have been even better.
The fact that we are fourth since my arrival, without Lloris, without Harry Kane, without Sissoko, without Son, without almost everybody, I think is a good reflection of the potential that we have, the work that we are all doing. And that's the reason why I say that the minimum we deserve is to finish in a position that keep us in European football. A competition that is not our level, we are better than that, but still an European competition. And football is not about what you deserve, it's about what you really effectively get. So we cannot be just saying we deserve and not to get points in these two matches. So we need to win matches now, these two matches.
Basically, you and Jose Mourinho there were saying exactly what Matt Elliott was saying. It was that, yes, it could have been even better. There was that settling in, bedding in period, but there was also a lot of injuries, and he listed all the injuries that he had at one time or another during his time at Spurs.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, Dan. You ask any manager in the Premier League and they will tell you exactly the same. I mean, Brendan could use that excuse for since the restart with the injury problems that he's had to deal and to cope with. And with everything that's happened, you know, Harry Kane was out for the season. He wasn't going to play again. But with the gap that we had, and the season starting again in June when it did, it enabled the injuries that he had to come back and to play in these 7 games that they've had. There have been a little bit hit and miss. I saw them at Bournemouth a couple of weeks ago, and I thought they were absolutely awful. Up at Sheffield United, early doors since the restart, they got well and truly beaten 3-1, and they were all way off the pace. They were all over the shop. But they are strong at home. I think from their 55 points they've won this season, 36 have come in their new stadium. And the boys touched on it earlier. I do look at them defensively, and they have got a weakness there, especially down that right-hand side with Aurier. And I'm not convinced with Davis and Sanchez. I think in the top 9, there's only Chelsea that have conceded more goals than Spurs. So absolutely, I think there will be opportunities for Leicester to score this afternoon, and let's hope they can take those opportunities when they come their way.
I was just going to say, Bakesy, sorry
Matt.
Jumping in. Are we sure that Tottenham are the 4th best in Jose's time? Or are we just believing what he says there? Is this an official stat? Because you're saying there, you know, correctly, I'm sure, about, you know, conceded goals here, and they lost. You're reminding me of the results. They lost to Sheffield United. They were abject against Bournemouth, weren't they? And I'm thinking, how have they become the 4th best under his tenure? But
you kind of touched upon it yourself. I think people, when Mourinho loses a game, a lot more is made of it than. So they're probably the ones you do remember. There seems to be quite a lot of confidence, though, from Leicester City fans on social media, though, heading into this game this evening. We can take a look at a few of those pictures that you guys have sent in to us. Now, Andy, he says, come on, you Blue Boys, he's supporting. I don't know if we can get these pictures up. There we go. Andy there, supporting the Blue Boys, of course, from home. He's got all his stuff that was sent out to him from the club ready by his television. The Canadian Foxes say we have our coffees ready. It's very early in the morning.
What's going on there?
It's very early in the morning in Canada, so They've got up early to watch this huge game. Next up, ready for #Totley, #ThenNowAgain. All you need to do is use #ThenNowAgain or #LCFC to feature on this show. And finally, the Ohio Foxes say, my guy has been up and ready to go for today's match. He's predicting a clean sheet for Kasper Schmeichel and a 2-0 win for us Foxes. Now, obviously, Walshy, that's exactly what we'd be hoping for. That would be ideal. And you've been talking about the clean sheet run, haven't you, for Kasper Schmeichel and the potential of a Golden Glove. There'd be an awful lot to do for him to win it, though, at this stage.
It will, yeah. Obviously, with Nick Pope, he's on 15 and Kasper's on 13. But listen, if he gets 2 clean sheets, then who knows? But listen, he's had a terrific season. He has... some of the saves since the restart has been unbelievable, you know. And you look at him, he's made 1 or 2 errors all season, really, and his consistency is terrific. And to bounce back after, you know, the Bournemouth error that he went on into the press and he put his hand up, very honest. And he put a great performance in against Sheffield. Albeit he didn't have a lot to do, but what he did was composed. Everything was back to normal. So it's good how you can rebound from, because a lot of people can lose a lot of confidence when things happen, when they go wrong. Same with Johnny Evans. He had a disaster as well that night, and that's the only game I've ever seen him get flustered all season. Mr. Cool, and he steps back in, and that cutting pass, that slide measure pass that he put through for Vardy for the goal was unbelievable. So we've got a very good, safe back guard, if you will, and Schmeichel heads that up with the highest of class for me. And we'll need him at times today, and I'm sure he'll be there. But it's the collective performance against Sheffield. That's what we need today.
Well, Alistair Gold from Football London says that there's actually quite a lot of confidence at the moment in the Spurs camp.
Yeah, they're going to be highly motivated, driven, back-to-back victories, including a North London derby. So, yeah, I think if Leicester had played Spurs probably maybe pre-lockdown or even in the couple of games after, you'd probably have found quite a different Tottenham team. But actually, there's a little bit of momentum and confidence building, and a lot of it's coming from the solid defence, and they've kind of got this, confidence moving forward now that Mourinho's feeding into. Tottenham have been a bit strange in recent. They haven't been creating many chances yet. In a weird world, they've scored 5 goals in the last 2 games because pretty much any chances that come their way, they've been very clinical with. I mean, obviously, it's very hard to go past Harry Kane because if anything is served up on a plate, he will literally gobble it up, in a football sense, of course. But Son is probably the other one. Son has been very similar in that he hasn't actually been performing at his highest level, yet he's been getting goals and assists. I think he's actually had his record Premier League tally for goals and assists in terms, I think it's 11 goals and 10 assists. So in terms of 21 direct contributions for Son, even though he'd probably be the first to admit he hasn't done the best of seasons, he's stats-wise, he's absolutely shining. And I think those are probably going to be the 2, to keep an eye out for. Steven Bergwijn, probably maybe from the bench, is one to keep an eye on. Very young, talented guy. Set up Kane's first goal in the previous match. So, yeah, he's one to watch. I think that's the thing Spurs have that they haven't in the past. They now have 2 or 3 players taking place to come off the bench, which is something Tottenham have really struggled with. And now they can influence games in the second half as well.
Ewan, that was interesting from Alistair there about Spurs, and particularly the fact that they've scored quite a few goals recently, but they've not created too many chances. They've just been extremely clinical with the few chances that they've had in each game. Yeah,
they've scored from set pieces. You look at the North London derby. I thought they were miles off the pace for the opening half hour, but then a couple of sloppy goals given away by Arsenal let them back into the game. So look, even then, I thought they were slightly lucky to win that game. Everton at home, I think they only beat Everton 1-0, and he was going on about solid defensive base that they've had since lockdown. They've kept 3 clean sheets in 7 games. So I'm not too sure about that. I still maintain there is a weakness defensively in Spurs. I thought they were lucky against Manchester United in the first game. Ended up in a 1-1 draw at the Spurs Stadium. I thought Man U in the second half absolutely battered them, but since the restart, as we know, Manchester United have been absolutely on fire. I do think after what happened against Sheffield United, I do think Leicester have got a great opportunity of going down to Spurs' new stadium and coming back with 3 points.
Yeah, we're just seeing some shots from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Matt. It's a fantastic looking ground, isn't it? I'm sure you and I can't wait to go there eventually, hopefully in the coming seasons when fans are allowed to return. But it's a shame for the likes of Luke Thomas, and I suppose a lot of those Leicester players, that they won't have played at this ground yet. And they're going to be playing there, but with no fans. Yeah,
although I think in Luke Thomas's instance, it probably works in his favour a little bit. It's a less daunting prospect, isn't it? I think his debut here at the King Power against Sheffield United, of course, and then it's a less awesome prospect, isn't it? And it helps him settle in. But big players like to play in big occasions, don't they? And down there at Tottenham's ground, it's fantastic stadium, isn't it? I mean, it's all mod cons by all accounts, and it really looks the part. And as I say, players relish playing in such an atmosphere, don't they? But I think the players will know the importance of the game today and be able to put the lack of atmosphere to one side, and they'll be able to focus on how much this game means. I think that was evident against Sheffield United on Thursday night. There was a real meaning and intensity about the game, even though there was no crowd. You could see it in the players, in just how that they were going about it, with their vocality and the physical aspects of the game, just the intensity of that game. And I think you see similar today. Both teams have got something to play for, huge amounts to play for. And I think Leicester have got to be mindful. We talked earlier about all the different permutations. Whatever happens today, there's still something to play for next Sunday. But you don't want that to detract from the intensity of your focus. Let's do it today. You don't know. If things were to go really well today, and then a blip for Man United on Thursday, it could be all but done. They might come next weekend. You never know. It's unlikely. But listen, look after your own job and make sure. Don't say, well, if it doesn't happen today, we can sort it out next week. That's a big if. Get it done today if you can.
Yeah, that's a huge incentive, Walshy, isn't it, for those Leicester players? And I'm sure it's the kind of conversations that would have been taking place at Beaver Drive this week, particularly after that Sheffield United game, so Friday and even yesterday, that the talk will have been, listen, we're right back in with a chance here, and if we can get a good result at Spurs, that'll take the pressure off a little bit going into that final game with United.
Yeah, absolutely. You go back to the Bournemouth game when after that, it was Sheffield, and those couple of days you could imagine what the thought process was. Right, we've got to beat Sheffield now. This is a massive game for us, which every game is, we know. It's the like cup finals, we say that. But you've got to, like Matt said, you've got to take what's in front of you at the moment, and you cannot look ahead. It's the worst thing in football to ever look ahead. But when the way they went about the game after a real big knock, there was a lot of, you'd have thought, confidence lost in quite a few of them players after that performance, but they really, handled that game very, very well against Sheffield, and again, it's given us that platform now to go one further, and the confidence must be high. It's high in Tottenham after back-to-back wins, but it's just you've got to really stamp your authority on this game, and this Tottenham team are capable, but when you get at them, they show frailties, and that's where I think we're going to have to be very patient, defend stoutly, and keep that ball. But also, when we get that opportunity, we've got to finish.
Yeah, Ewan, do you think that Leicester will look at what Walsh was saying there and say, obviously, going forward, Tottenham have got some fantastic players. Defensively, though, and you've mentioned it yourself already, that there is a little bit of a vulnerability there. So should Leicester come right out of the blocks, do you think, at them today?
I think Leicester have to. I think when Leicester are at their best, Stan, and I've probably said this to you before, it's when they start games quickly, when they squeeze up, when they press high as a team, when they force the opposition to make mistakes. I think that's when Leicester are chomping at the bit. That's when they're at it. I think that's when they perform at their best. And even though they are away from home today at Spurs, I think they can still do that at times. I think it comes down to that back five, back six, if you want to include Kasper. If they can perform as they did, and they have got two terrific players sitting in front of them in Ndidi and Yuri Tielemans, who I thought was exceptional on the other night against Sheffield. You know, they will protect, they will cover, and then you look at those three up front: Perez, Vardy, and Barnes. Pace to burn, which will scare the life out of Aurier, Alderweireld, Sanchez, and Ben Davies. And I totally agree. Don't think too much about the game next Sunday against Man U. Massive game, make or break, if you like. Go and sort of get nearly both feet in, finishing in that top four today. You know, one massive effort down in North London. You know, go out, go win the game, go with that swagger and that confidence that you played, and in the manner that you beat Sheffield the other night, and it's nearly done and dusted.
Yeah, and they shouldn't be short of confidence going forward either, Matt. The 67 goals that they've scored so far in the Premier League this season is just one short of their record in any Premier League season, the Foxes. So that they've scored goals at a really good rate, and if they do, hopefully we'll see them score more than one goal between now and the end of the season, and that'll be a new record for themselves as well.
Well, yeah, it's a nice incentive, isn't it? Again, you know, you could say, oh, it's a little bit of a distraction. Focus on just playing well and getting that result. But yeah, I suppose it would be a nice little achievement, wouldn't it, if it does occur. But they know they've got the firepower within the squad. You know, Jamie Vardy's fit and ready to go, and he's on a good streak of form. And other players are needing to contribute and stepping up a bit, really. You know, Perez, I think over the course of the season, although he's chipped in with 8 goals, you know, three of them were in one game. So, you know, I think his contribution could become more regular. And Barnes also, again, he threatens, doesn't he? And he's got a few goals, few assists, but he'd like to up his stats, really. And I think from other areas of the pitch, Leicester, you know, every player pretty much will be looking to contribute more, because there has been, as you mentioned, an over-reliance on Jamie Vardy. But that's also down to a little bit how Leicester play as well. You know, there is so much focus on that main man, that centre forward, whoever it is, more often than not Vardy. But yeah, listen, it's one of those games. You know, anyone who knows or says they know the outcome of the game is talking rubbish, basically, because you don't know what Tottenham's going to turn up, and to an extent you don't know what Leicester's going to turn up. And if they're both at full tilt, you still don't know which way it's going to go, because they're finally matched, aren't they? And you know, that's what it's got all the ingredients of you know, a really interesting, pulsating game, really, because not only the quality of the teams, it's how much is riding on this match as well, and really looking forward to it.
We're edging very much closer to kick-off. A reminder again, you can listen to LCFC radio commentary live from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium with James Fielden and Chris Powell on lcfc.com. We will be leaving you on social media. You can listen to us, though, on lcfc.com/TV throughout the game. And do join us again post-match here on social media, as we'll have all the best of the post-match reaction as well. But we'll be back in around about 5 minutes' time, just in time for kick-off.